So here's what I want you to do for a second. I want you to close your eyes. Don't fall asleep on me. Not yet. We haven't even gotten halfway through the sermon. Close your eyes, and I want you to picture Christmas Eve. And I want you to picture being right here in St. Peter's on Christmas Eve with the candlelight glow and that most famous of all hymns beginning to be played and sung, Silent Night, Holy Night. All is calm, all is bright. Sleep in heavenly peace. Okay, now wake up. Don't fall asleep just yet. Sleep in heavenly peace. Last Christmas was my very first Christmas here, and one of the absolute highlight moments was when in all of our services, we gathered together and we lit the candles, we dimmed the lights, and we sang that song together. There just isn't anything quite like it. If you've not been a part of it here at St. Peter's, I'm telling you, you got to come. 4, 6, 8, and 10. All of it will be there singing Silent Night by candlelight. It is the epitome of peace on Christmas Eve. And I loved it. Like I said, it was the high point for me. And I left Christmas Eve that night from St. Peter's and I went home. And I opened the door of my house. And I hear my kids. Now, mind you, I've got a college student, I've got a high school student, and my younger boy, who's like 9 now, all of them are carrying on at the top of their lungs playing a video game called Fortnite. Anybody ever heard of Fortnite before? Yeah, every kid who didn't raise your hand, you're a liar in church. Right here. Because I know you've heard it, and not only heard it, but I know you've probably played it. Fortnite is a video game. It's a shooter game, basically. You drop into a mode called Battle Royale. There's like 75 people in there, and you are loaded to bear, and you are working to kill everybody before they kill you. It's a wonderful game for Christmas Eve, right? So I come in, and you can hear my son upstairs yelling, and you can hear my son downstairs in the basement yelling, and you can hear my 9-year-old who doesn't know how to keep all the sound from the game in his headphones, so it's all coming through the speakers on the TV, yelling as well, and you hear grrr, and there's guns and there's things blowing up constantly. Talk about a Fortnite Christmas versus a Silent Night Christmas. We are in our Christmas series here at St. Peter's called Wish List. And we are looking at all the different wishes that we have for Christmas. Because I know that you guys have put together that wish list. Maybe you've even moved things into the Amazon wish list on your account as a hint to your spouse. Or perhaps maybe you've been so bold as to just add it to the cart itself with the hopes that maybe somebody will hit pay without realizing what's all in there, and suddenly Santa brings you your favorite gift. But there are things this year that we are wishing for that go far deeper than the things you can find on Amazon, that go beyond what an Amazon warehouse can deliver to your house. We're looking at those deeper wishes, things like having hope and experiencing peace and finding joy and being loved. And today we're talking, as Adam said, about peace. So what does your house look like? Does it look more like a silent night, or does it look more like a fortnight? Is it filled with nothing but peace and calm? Or are there battle royales unfolding in your house and in your family each and every day? You know, at Christmas time, so many different emotions come up. And one of the things that we just desire so deeply at Christmas is for everybody in our family, everybody in our circle of friends, to be able to get together and enjoy celebrating the birth of Christ. To be able to come into a room together, period. Right? Just if we could get everybody in my family together in one room on Christmas Eve, it would be a Christmas miracle, you guys. Not joking, it would be a Christmas miracle. And what would probably be even more miraculous is if we got them all together and they didn't fight in some way, shape, or form. And I'm not talking about my kids, I'm talking about the grown adults in my family. You see, all of us come together and we want that Christmas peace. But so oftentimes what we find is that there are battles that are unleashed when we all come together. We want people to come and celebrate the season, and so many times when our families get together, we decimate the season, right? In families and homes, we battle for all sorts of reasons at this time of year. For some of us, it's because there's differences in the way that our household celebrates or the way that our household even believes. You've got mom who wants everything at the table just right. She is ready. She has planned it all out. We are going to celebrate the birth of Jesus. We've got the dinner. We've got the reading of Luke 2. We're all going to go to church. We're going to open presents. We're going to have hot chocolate. And the kids are going to calmly go to bed. And it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful night. Don't laugh. We can dream, right? But in my family, the last time, and I can't remember how many years ago, but the last time we got everybody together on a Christmas Eve, this is exactly what my mom did. She set the table. She had it all pristine. She had the whole night planned out. We were going to open gifts for the grandkids. We were going to have the dinner. We were going to read Luke 2. We were even going to go to church until my brother decided to argue and debate the veracity and truth of the narrative of Jesus' birth in the Gospels at dinner time. And it took everything in me as a pastor not to flip the table and be like, no, we're not going to talk about this tonight. My mom swore off Christmas dinner after that. She's like, nope, you guys do your thing. I'm not handling this anymore. I'm going on to church, right? What battles rage in your house? Maybe it's a political division. You get everybody together and some show up in red sweaters and others show up in blue sweaters. And the reality is what? Everybody that year will win the ugly sweater contest, if you know what I mean. Many families, many homes have deep struggles with peace because they have deep hurts and deep conflict. And the problem is that hurt and conflict, it just lies there unresolved. It just sits there. And over years and years, it gets kind of buried over different things. But here's the deal. If it's never resolved, it begins to fester. And so every year you get together, it's there. You don't really deal with it. You just have to feel it. And after a couple of years, you just start to get to a point you say, forget it. I don't need it. I don't need to come to Christmas celebration this year with all the family and feel all that tension that's there. It's just easier to stay away. Maybe in your family, the conflict is so fresh and new that it's on the surface, and that if everybody gets together, someone's going to explode, someone's going to pop off. Maybe that someone is you, or maybe you're the guy who brings the popcorn just waiting for Uncle Bob to lose it. Conflict is real, conflict is there. And it's hard because we want to deal with it, but we're not sure how. In Home Alone, that amazing classic Christmas movie, Kevin, who's 9 years old, was left by his family for Christmas. He finds his way into church on Christmas Eve. And he finds himself sitting next to an old man from his neighborhood. And they begin to talk about why both of them are in Christmas Eve church by themselves. And the old man explains to Kevin, well, I'm here to hear my granddaughter sing because I'm not going to see her anywhere else. Kevin goes, what do you mean? He goes, I'm not welcome in my son's house. And Kevin is just flabbergasted. He can't figure this out. How could you not be welcomed in your own son's house? And the old man explains, many years ago, we got into a big fight. Tempers flared, and we both told each other we no longer wanted to speak or see one another. And it's ironic because there's this touching moment right before the huge battle in Home Alone unfolds. But it's such a touching moment for so many because that's our reality. We struggle to find true peace. And I think we struggle to find true peace because many times we don't know the pathway towards that peace. We want it, but we can't figure out how to get it. And it's because much like hope, like what we talked about last week, with peace, we get it wrong. You see, the world wants to teach us that peace is the absence of conflict. Peace is the absence of conflict. That's what the world wants you to be convinced of. What this means is that as long as there's no open conflict between you and me, there's peace and all should be good. But here's what happens. When we embrace that concept of peace, we get kind of all lost. You know, in our country, we have had a policy of sorts from almost the very beginning. Peace through strength. And what that means is that we are going to be bigger, badder, meaner, and scarier militarily than anybody else in the world, and they won't bother us. And generally, it works. We have peace. Do we? It feels to me like we are standing on the precipice of war every single day in this world. I'm not sure I'd call that peace. You see, when we think of peace as a lack of conflict, we end up going down a couple of different pathways to try and find that peace. And the first is this: we avoid it. How many of you guys are avoiders of conflict? You don't have to raise your hand. That would create conflict and might make you uncomfortable. How many of you avoid conflict like it's the plague, like it's COVID-19? Like, no, I don't want to deal with that. No, thank you. And so what we do is we run down this pathway of avoidance. As long as I'm not with this person or that person, there can't be conflict, and we're good. We've got peace. No, I don't think so. How many of you guys are the pretenders? Don't raise your hand. I don't want you to pretend anything that you're not. But are you a pretender? You show up at Christmas, you put the smile on, you have a wonderful time, and then you and your spouse get in the car and you say, that was the fakest Christmas we've ever had. Yeah, lots of pretenders. There's another pathway that we try and take when we think that peace is a lack of conflict. I call it the pathway of power. It's where I use strength and intimidation and coercion to squash any kind of conflict in life. Sometimes when we as parents hit the very end of our rope with our kids, this is the pathway towards peace. We just intimidate and use our strength and our power to be like, nope, you're going to sit down and you're going to be quiet and we're going to enjoy this Christmas Eve. Shh, right? Pathway of power, not peace. Maybe the absence of conflict, but it's not peace. You see, biblical peace isn't just the absence of conflict. Biblical peace, that deep wish and yearning of our hearts, that Christmas kind of peace we want, is found in what we call reconciliation. You see, in John 14, Jesus tells his disciples, peace I leave with you, peace I give to you, not as the world gives. And that peace that Jesus is talking about, that true peace, it's found in that word reconciliation. And here's what reconciliation really means. It's a reconnecting of a relationship. It's the reconnecting, reshaping, reforming of a relationship that has been broken and shattered. And the amazing thing is, it's not conflict resolution. Resolution means, okay, we're fine. Like, you go your way, I go my way. Reconciliation means that our relationship has been reestablished and actually made stronger and better through that process of reconciliation. You see, it goes beyond just the absence of conflict to a healing of hurts and a mending of brokenness. And we cannot have true and deep peace, the kind of peace we sing about at Christmas and we long for at Christmas, until we deal with the most important relationship in our lives, and that is our relationship with God. You see, our peace in life comes from and flows in and out of our relationship with our Creator. This is the peace that Jesus speaks of in John when he says, peace I give to you, peace I leave with you, not as the world gives. The peace that he leaves with us, the peace that he gives with us, is a peace with God. It's the kind of peace that the angels declared to the shepherds at the birth of Jesus when they said, on earth, peace to those whom God's favor rests. It's the kind of peace that Paul talks about when he says, there is a peace that surpasses all understanding. You see, true biblical peace is this: knowing that you are right with God. I want to say that again. True peace is knowing that you are right with God. And the amazing thing is that what we celebrate, especially at Christmas time, this true and deep peace is already yours. You see, through Jesus and through his death on that cross, he brought reconciliation between you and God. He took what was broken and what was shattered, what had all kinds of hostility and barriers between it, and he broke it all down. And he began to reshape and reform and reconnect you to your God and to your Creator. Jesus has made us right with God, and through that, we have a peace, as Paul would say, that surpasses all understanding. And having this peace means two things for us today. First, last week, when Pastor Adam said that hope is expectation of something better, if that's what hope is, the expectation of something better, then peace is our comfort here and now. You see, no matter what's going on in our lives, no matter the chaos, no matter the struggles, no matter the diagnoses, in Jesus Christ we have hope that there is something better to come. And at the same time, in Jesus Christ, we have peace even now. Because we know the outcome, because we know whose hands we are in the Lord's. Now, we all know that we're never going to resolve every conflict this side of heaven. But the peace we have now is that the greatest conflict in our lives, the greatest conflict in all of our lives, the whole world's lives, has been resolved, has been brought to a closure by Jesus Christ and the reconciliation he gives. And it also means that the peace we have through Jesus not only has broken down the barriers between us and God, but it also begins to break down the barriers between one another. You see, the peace that we have in Jesus Christ shouldn't just stay with you or with me. It should affect, and it ought to affect, every single relationship that you have in your life. And the way this begins to happen is when we repent. And what I mean by that is when we take a good, hard look at ourselves and our actions. We observe and look at the conflicts we have in our lives, and we do a couple of things. First, we admit what we have done. It sounds simple, but it's so hard. How many times have you had to have that kind of conversation? And you know you've got to admit something, but all you want to do is say, no, it's your fault. It's your fault. You just want to point the finger and say, not me. But we have to admit that what we've done wrong. And we have to take responsibility for that. Maybe you've been in a conversation where somebody has said to you, yeah, I admit that I did it, and I'm sorry that you're a jerk. Right? You ever heard apologies like that? I'm really sorry that you're cranky and crotchety and old and mean, and that it ruined our Christmas. Like, that's not an apology, it's an insult. You got to take responsibility for your actions. The way that sounds is, I admit that I was mean on Christmas Eve, and it's because I miss my spouse. I haven't had them in 3 years, and it breaks me every time we get to Christmas. And so I treat people poorly. I admit what I do wrong. I take responsibility for that. And then there's this third piece, and this is really important. We seek forgiveness. We come to one another and we seek forgiveness. And by doing that, we begin to heal the hurts. We begin to mend the brokenness, and we lead ourselves, and God leads us towards reconciliation, which gives peace. You see, the peace of Christmas, which each of you have now because of what Christ has done for you, it doesn't stay with you. Like I said, it should and ought to and has to impact every relationship that you have. See, I want you to think about it like this. Imagine how you might react differently to the conflict in your life if your first reaction came out of the peace that you have in Jesus rather than anger and hurt that you might be carrying with you. Imagine what it would sound like when you get in a fight with your spouse. That quick comeback might not be so quick, and it might not be so sharp if it comes first from a place of peace in Jesus Christ. The tone and the volume of your voice at 10 doesn't need to be there. It can be turned down to 3 so that your kids can listen to you and not just hear you. That's a response from peace in Jesus Christ rather than anger or frustration. Imagine that tough conversation that you have to have, that you've been avoiding or pretending like it doesn't have to be. Imagine how it would start. I want you to know how much I love you and appreciate you, instead of, I need to tell you how much you've hurt me and how much you've destroyed me. There's such a difference in the way that we begin when we begin from a place of peace in Jesus Christ. As your family gathers this year to celebrate the birth of Jesus, as you guys hopefully come here and celebrate with us, you're going to sing those words, sleep in heavenly peace. But we all know this, the battles are still going to rage on. Christmas in your house may still have all the trappings of a fortnight Christmas, though you long for a silent night type Christmas. But the amazing thing is that in the midst of all those battles, in the midst of everything, Jesus continues to remind us and give us his peace. A peace that surpasses all understanding. A peace that when you walk into your house and your kids are screaming and the fortnight is raging, somehow you can smile and go, this is life. A peace that surpasses all understanding, that when you get that diagnosis of terminal, you can still look at it and say, it's going to be okay, because I know whose hands I'm in. That's peace. You see, no matter what happens in our life, the peace that we have in Jesus Christ, it settles our hearts, it settles our minds, so that no matter what, you and I always have heavenly peace in our lives. Amen.